Hello everyone, welcome to the Geoecologist. I am Dr. Krishnanand, and in this session we are going to discuss about the various highlights and key points of the new Education Policy 2020 as approved by the Government of India. So let's understand. But before we go ahead, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to press the bell icon for the update. So let's look at the various highlights and the key points in this new Education Policy 2020 that has been approved by the Cabinet, Government of India. So the first important point here is to be noted that the basic aim, why has it been approved right now? It has been approved basically with an aim to overhaul the country's education system. Although overhauling basically means taking a part of something, correcting it and then fixing it into the main system. So let's understand how this overhauling in a literal sense has been applied to this particular policy. So Union Ministers for Information and Broadcasting Prakash Javadekar and Human Resource Development Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank made this announcement on 29th July 2020 that this policy has been approved by the Cabinet, Government of India. The new Education Policy 2020 aims at making India a global knowledge superpower. So that is the first point that we need to understand after understanding the overhauling process. So after this overhauling process, we are supposed to become the global knowledge superpower. So that's one important point here. Then it also holds significance for this particular reason that after 34 years, we have finally brought our new education policy that was pending since last 3 decades almost. So let's understand what has happened, what kind of changes we can expect at pre-primary education. So when we look here, the written sentence reads that it is basic aim of this policy to universalize. When we say universalize, it means to adapt a global education system pattern. So what is that? The pre-primary education, that is age range of 3 to 6 years of children by 2025. So the year 2025, it means for the next 5 years, this policy has to work in tandem. Provisions that we have made in this particular policy to provide foundational literacy and numeracy for all by 2025. So two important terms come here, foundational literacy and numeracy. So not just foundation literary part, but also in terms of numbers, we have to comply with this for next 5 years. Then what we see here is that how will this funding be created? A special national fund will be created for providing scholarships and developing resources and facilities for students from the underrepresented groups. So mind you here, if you are from a represented group already, it doesn't make much sense, but yes, specially a fund is going to be there for the underrepresented groups. So that is one highlight. Then universal access to education. This is another thrust matter. So let's understand this one. To reintegrating dropouts. Remember, our dropout ratio is too much. So to reintegrate the dropouts, to ensure universal access to education, this new policy has set an objective to achieve access and participation both. It means just not accessibility but also participation in free and compulsory school education for all children from 3 to 18 years of age by 2030. So it's not 14 but it's 18 years now by 2030. So next 10 years plan. So look at these plans. This policy aims at 5-year plans and also some 10-year plans. So let's look further. New curricular and pedagogical structure. So let's understand this new curriculum. The new curriculum proposes that there is a changing or in the existing structure, that is 10+2 curricular activity that we do already. So there has to be a change in this particular. So what is it, the new structure going to be? So it's going to be this structure 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So it's in total 15. So this 15 has been divided into this particular segment design. And let's look at this for the age group of 3 to 18 years of people. So this is about 15 years. So this 15 years has been devised in this particular way. So first 5 years of the foundational stage, that is the 3 years of pre-primary school and grades 1 and 2. That is going to be the first 5 years part of this foundational stage. Then what we have here is the 3 years of preparatory or the later primary. So first is called the pre-primary, The second has been named as latter primary stage, that is grades 3, 4 and 5. Then what we have here is 3 years of middle or upper primary. So next terminology in this is upper primary, that we have is grades 6, 7, 8, and then furthermore we have 9th, 10th and 11th, 12th. So that is for a high or secondary stage. So these are the 4 different stages that we see here is for 5 years, 3 years, 3 years and 4 years, contributing to the entire 15 years for this age group from 3 years to 18 years of age group. Then what we see here is making India a global study destination. So now this policy aims that India should be a global study destination, not just a business destination. So there is also a plan for this. So let's understand this. So it aims basically to promote India at a global level for study destination. It means more and more incoming of people to study here in India. So an international students office at each institution is going to be created or going to be set up. So we'll have international students office everywhere now in all the universities and all the departments, wherever it has to be set up according to this policy. So high performing Indian universities, when high performing Indian universities are being rated or graded by NAAC reports, if you see, so those high performing Indian universities will be encouraged further to set up campuses in other countries as well. So this is not just incoming, but this is another plan for outgoing Indian universities. So Indian universities would be going outwards in different countries to set up themselves there for the students to study. So selected universities like those from among top 100 universities in the world will be facilitated to operate in India. So this is another important move here, that of top 100 universities, some of them will be encouraged to set up their universities in India for the students in India here. So no hard separation of arts and sciences. This is another highlight. So let's look at this particular highlight. This is going to be important for interdisciplinary studies, I believe. So it's arts and sciences. So when we say no hard separation, what does it mean basically? It basically means that earlier a science students, when used to take admission in humanities or arts, there was some kind of deduction, or some science students were not even allowed to take some arts courses, or some art students were not allowed to take science courses. So this is what is the hard separation, which has to be now withdrawn, or which the policy aims to give students increased flexibility or the choice of the subjects to study across arts, humanities, sciences, sports and vocational subjects. So this is a very much important move. Now people can choose. Now students have this opportunity to choose. So let's look at this. Departments in languages, literature, music, philosophy, Indology, art, dance, theatre, education, mathematics, statistics, pure and applied sciences, sociology, economics, sports, translation and interpretation, etc. So this etc. is more can be included, or more are there in the list, will be established and strengthened at all higher education institutions. So that's important. All these list of subjects have been given here. I think there must be more to it because ETC has been used. So there is a possibility that more can be added to this list. So let's understand further. Education in local language. Now we heard lots of conflicts. So this is one major move in terms of establishing local language for education, especially between 2 to 8 years of age. So multilingualism has great cognitive benefits, that is psychological analysis, which is going to be considered in this particular policy that we see right from the foundational stage. So there is an encouragement of incorporating the local language or the mother tongue, if you say so. So what is the formula? Let's look at this. The 3-language formula followed since the adoption of National Policy on Education in 1968 and endorsed in 1992 86 policy as well. So this will be continued, keeping in mind the constitutional provisions and aspirations of people, regions and the Union of India. So that's important. That has not been changed, this 3-language formula, but emphasis has been made on this particular age group whose cognitive memory is important. So that is the foundational stage where this will be applied. Furthermore, National Research Foundation. Now this sounds interesting. So let's understand what is this National Research Foundation. It will be established to grant competitive funding. So this is an agency which is going to give grants for competitive funding that we see here for outstanding research proposals across the disciplines. So now when we used to say that scope of research, this is what scope of research has been further planned out in this policy, that you can propose your research across the disciplines and you can get your funding from National Research Foundation, which are supposed to be established in your future. So the primary activity of the NRF will be to seed, grow and facilitate research at academic institutions. So that's important. These three words is seeding, growing and facilitating. So it's a 3-stage framework that we see here. Furthermore, and mentoring will be done by institutions, by eminent research scholars across the country, hiring excellent young research students and faculty, and strengthening the recognizing existing high quality programs at such institutions. So now you look here, the matter of recruitment is also here because it's supposed to be hiring for excellence. So if you are an excellent tutor, if you are an excellent student, research student, faculty, you can think of a new job for yourself. Now furthermore, Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog. This is going to be another apex body. So let's look at it. So this body, that is the new apex body, Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog or National Education Commission, NEC. This is going to be headed by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. The Ayog will be responsible for developing, articulating, implementing, evaluating and revising. So all these process of pedagogy that is important are going to be under this particular framework and this new apex body called National Education Commission. Then states also will have a Rajya Shiksha Ayog or the State Education Commission for this, so that they can work in tandem with the center. So now let's look at this particular word called equitable. It's not equality, but it's also talking about equity now, inclusivity now. So inclusiveness and equity principles have been brought under this policy. So let's look at it. What does it say? It says there has to be gender inclusion fund as well. So first time of funding based on gender. You see here, gender inclusion fund has been promised in this policy. Also special education zones. Now we don't have only economic zones, special economic zones, but you have new SEZs, that is special education zones planned. So this is going to be one of the innovative ideas that is generating new bodies, that is from the point of view of equitable and inclusive education. Now let's look at the highlights specifically for higher education. What are those points that has something to do with people working, studying and having stake in higher education? So let's look at this. Increase GER to 50% by 2035. So let's see this promise of next 15 years. Another long-term plan is to increase gross enrollment ratio, that is GER, and it has to be about 50% increase by 2035 from current state. So if we look at this in higher education, including vocational education, from this percentage in 2018, that is 26.3% in 2018 to 50% by 2035. So a considerable increase of about 24% is promised in this under this policy by 2035. So let's look at this particular data as well, that at least 3.5 crore new seats. This is a big promise. 3.5 crore new seats will be added to higher education institutions. So people who wanted to do PhDs, who wanted to do research, who wanted to do higher education. So now you'll have upcoming 3.5 crore new seats, but that is going to be in next 15 years of time. Now, holistic multidisciplinary education. This is another point. So let's look at it. The policy introduces broad-based, it means the base is going to be broad, multidisciplinary, holistic undergraduate education. Now look at this undergraduate education. Its nature is supposed to be broad and interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary with flexible curriculum. So that is important, that curriculum is not going to be stringent, hardline, it's going to be flexible, and it has to be having creative combinations of subject matters, integration of vocational education, multiple entry and exit points. Now this is another important point, that there will be multiple entry and exit points, so a person can choose when to enter, when to exit at certain levels. And vocational education, we see time and again, is coming into the picture. It has been now the thrust of this policy, as we can see. Now Undergraduate education can be of 3 or 4 years. It's not yet clear. It's not saying is it going to be 3 or exactly 4, but it can be either 3 or 4 because of this particular factor, that is multiple entry and exit. So we see, for example, certificate after 1 year, advanced diploma after 2 years, bachelor's degree after 3 years, and bachelor's with research after 4 years. So now the new degree system is going to be interesting and innovative. So let's look forward to it. Furthermore, an academic bank of credit, a new concept we see here is the academic bank of credit is also to be established for digitally storing academic credits. Now your academic credits are going to be digitally stored, earned from different institutes so that this can be transferred and counted towards final degree earned. So when you are doing so many courses from different institutes, your entire academic credits will be digitally stored, and finally when the degree is awarded, it will be counted and given to you as a degree earned. So this is going to be one more step. Furthermore, if we see, multidisciplinary education and research universities are going to be the new cool. So what is that? They are going to be at par with the IITs and IIMs. So this is supposed to be the short form, the MERUs. So multidisciplinary education research universities to be set up as models of best multidisciplinary education of global standards in the country. So this is a new part that is going to be added to the IITs and IIMs level of education that we used to think of as a higher education. Now, let's look at the regulation part of it. The Higher Education Commission of India, HECI, will be set up as a single overarching umbrella body. So this is going to be the single overarching umbrella body that is called Higher Education Commission of India. University Grants Commission is no longer validated now. Higher Education Commission of India is going to take over for the entire higher education, including medical, legal education as well. So medical and legal education are part of it, under it now. So HECI will function through faceless intervention. So it will have a faceless intervention. Let's see how it comes all together when it is applied through technology. So it's going to be using technology for this intervention and will have powers to penalize. Now this is going to be interesting. So this HECI is going to have its powers to penalize higher education institutions for not conforming to the norms and standards set under NEP 2020. So now we have to understand that a system of penalization has been also passed under this particular policy. So now let's look at online and digital education. This is going to be new cool, as during this corona crisis it's already gaining importance. So let's look at this online and digital education, what is happening with it. So in this, a dedicated unit for the building of digital infrastructure, digital content and capacity building. 3 words, 3 phrases come again. So infrastructure, digital content and capacity building will be created in MHRD to look after the e-education. So now we'll have a specific unit, a dedicated unit for online and digital education who will look after the content creation, capacity building, both at school levels and higher education levels. So that's interesting. Now, technology in education. Let's look at the role of technology in education. An autonomous body is supposed to be created. That is called National Educational Technology Forum, NETF. So NETF is supposed to look after it. It will be created to provide a platform for the free exchange of ideas on use of technology to enhance learning, assessment, planning, administration, all of these which are now part of contention all across India in various central and state universities. So use of technology is going to be created through this particular forum, National Education Technology Forum. Now further, let's look at professional education. What is going to happen in terms of professionalism? So let's look at that. All professional education will be integral part of higher education system. This is the first point here. Stand-alone technical universities. That is first point. Look at this: stand-alone technical universities, healthcare science universities, legal and agriculture universities, etc. When we say etc., it means there is a possibility of even more addition. Will aim to become multidisciplinary institutions. So now these universities can become multidisciplinary in nature. So it means there is more opportunity for other disciplines also to get access to these universities in various fields. So while the current expenditure on education stands at 4%, of GDP, it has to be now increased to 6% of GDP. That has been promised here. So let's look at the statement made by Secretary Amit Khare. He says that center and state governments will work together to achieve expenditure of 6% of GDP on education. That is what has been promised right now. So after looking at the various points that has been part of this National Education Policy 2020, we must understand few important points. The first important point that has been considered here is innovation. So lots of innovations we see in different parts of this policy. Second is institutions. So lots of institution building has been promised under this policy. So new institutions of eminence of various sectors in higher education and school education at national level in terms of national commission and funding agencies, all these institutions are to be created. And third important point is going to be the implementation. So where we see that these implementations are listed right from 5 years to 15 years. So this is going to be the timeline. So any of this, if you think is going to be applied and it is going to change your education in just 1 or 2 years, it's not going to be like that. It's a 5 to 15 years of total program that has been given in this particular policy. So let's hope for a good change, a positive change in our education system, but only time will tell where we'll lead. So let's hope for the best. All the best wishes. So now, when we have discussed about the highlights, about the key points at various levels of education in our country, so let's hope for a better and brighter future for all the education sector related stakeholders, from students to teachers to the parents to all of us. So all the best wishes. Take care. Stay safe.